I hope you saved the key file we created in the previous step in Google Cloud Console. We need that right now. So in the root of our project, let's create a new file called Google Service Account Key, and this will be a JavaScript file to be able to import the key from here. So if you did all the steps correctly in the previous video, your key should look like this, something like this. I replaced all the real value with X. So what we want to do here is create a variable called GSA key and export that as default from here. Excellent. And next step is really important to don't expose our key is adding that here to be able to ignore that in our repo. So it doesn't get picked up by Git and it doesn't go to our repo. I'm going to pause the video and add my real key and we are going to continue. Okay, our next step is a way to talk to Google APIs. To do so, there is a package or library or SDK for that called Google APIs. We need to install that in our application. I consider this kind of big package because let's see when I import Google, let's see how it looks like. As you see, it's kind of a big package we are importing to our application. So consider that when you are doing that for your production environment. And now let's import our key. So next steps are we want to authenticate to Google APIs using webmasters to be able to pull search analytics from Google APIs. So you may see my cursor is auto-completing the code, but I'm going to explain that all of that to you one by one. So first step, as I said, we are going to authenticate. So we create an auth and using the key we created, let me remove that so you don't get confused. So we are creating a variable called auth using Google Auth, the key we created, and authenticate against webmasters to get access to this scope. We can access to other scopes as well, but what we are going to do is Google Search Console. So this is the scope we are going to work on. Now we need to create a new webmasters to define the version and authentication we got. So webmasters version 3 is correct and authentication. So now I want to define exactly how the dates or amount of dates we want to query. I want to query the data for. So this looks correct to me. I don't want to go that far. So the end date is today and the start date is 30 days before. So this looks good. Now, let's see if I can get metrics from here. This domain looks good, one of my domains. The start date looks good and date looks good. Dimensions is how we group data. You can add one dimension or multiple dimensions. When I run the code, we're going to experiment that, how it looks like if I add other dimensions, how the data looks like. So this looks good to me. Let's console log this and npm run dev to run my development environment. I'm going to refresh my browser and see if we get some data from here. Excellent. So 200 looks good. It's a good sign. Perfect. So data rows is what I'm looking for. Data rows, and let me JSON stringify that so it doesn't show object. Perfect. So as you see, I'm getting keys which are query that defines the keyword we got searched for, how many clicks, how many impressions, how many click-through rate, and what was the average position in the Google search engine for that keyword. Let's see if I replace query first with page and see how get the data. As you see, the key changed from keyword to the page that metrics are for. So this is how they got grouped. What if I add query and page? So now you should see two different elements inside the keys. Exactly. So you say this page got searched for this keyword. How many clicks? What was the impression? click-through rate, and what was the average position. For our project, we are going to use only keywords, but this is next step for you to define multi-dimensions environment and get even more data from Google Search Console and feed that to your LLM. But for now, we are going to use only keywords. So let me remove this. And I really like to define some try catch here. This is, I normally don't fetch data like that, just straight in the browser. So let's take a look at what else we have here. I think we are good so far with our data. I don't know what I did wrong. Okay, I normally do like this to prevent curly bracket issue, error, and this. So I push this up, and let's push this up here, and just console log for now the error if there is any error in our environment. So this is the data we are getting from here, but let's define the structure of our data. So keywords metrics is how we want to define the data. So our keyword metrics is an array, but let's define what type of array is that. So this array, we got keyword, which is a string, we got impressions, which is a number, and we got clicks, which is number as well, click-through rate, which is number, and position. Excellent. So what we are saying here is we are in TypeScript, we are defining the interface of our data as well. So keywords performance is an array because we have multiple elements here, and each element is a dictionary of keyword, impression, clicks, click-through rate, and position. So that's what we are doing here. So now let's define if metrics has some data and has some rows. Now what we want to do with that? What we want to do here is we want to loop over the metrics rows and add one by one those elements to our keywords metrics. Let's change that actually to keywords performance to make it more clear. Okay, so then if we go to metrics.data.row for each, okay, this doesn't look bad. So we are pushing keyword, impression, clicks, click-through rate, and position. So I hope this is clear. So we are looping over each metric we got and adding an element to our performance, because this is what we are going to feed to our component for table. So now when this is done, let's now console log our keywords performance as JSON stringify and see how it looks like. Excellent. So this is what we are looking for, an array that has dictionary, and these are attributes of each keyword. Okay, we are all set to pass this data to our component in the next step.